As the last new character from the version 3.2, Professor Anaxa is finally here and is ready to show all of his students how a good character should be. In this video, I will talk about everything about Anaxa, how to build him, how to play with him, who to pair him with, everything. So, before the video starts, I want to apologize if I made some mistake. I wrote my script for this video, but when I went to record it, it was corrupted. So yeah, if I made some spelling mistakes or something like that, my name is Phoenix, and let's start by explaining his kit. Anaxa is a 5-star wind character that follows the path of erudition, and it's focused on being a DPS or a sub-DPS to your teams, especially if you have the Erta. On his basic attack, Pain, Bruise, Truth, Anaxa deals wind damage equal to a percentage of his attack to one enemy. On his skill, Fractal Exile's Fallacy, Anaxa deals wind damage equal to a percentage of his attack to one designated enemy and then deals additional 4 instances of damage. Each instance of damage will deal wind damage equal to a percentage of Anaxa's attack to one random enemy, prioritizing bouncing to enemies' targets that have not been hit during this skill. And, when used, for each stackable enemy on the field, this skill has its damage dealt increased by 20%. So, the more enemies on the field, the more damage your skill will do. On his ultimate, Sprouting Life Sculpts Earth, Anaxa inflicts the Sublimination State on all enemies on the field and then will deal wind damage equal to a percentage of his attack to all enemies. In the Sublimation State, the targets will have all the weakness implants on them, lasting until the start of their turn, and if the targets do not have control res, they are unable to take an action in the Sublimination State, so he can pretty much just block an attack like Welt can. On his talent, Tetrad Wisdom regains Strice. Each time Anaxa lands one hit on enemy targets, he will inflict one weakness of a random type to the targets, lasting for 3 turns, with the priority to the weakness type that the target doesn't already possess. Also, while Anaxa is on the field, he will inflict Qualitative Disclosure State on enemy targets that have at least 5 different types of weaknesses. Anaxa will deal increased damage to the targets inflicted with this state, and in addition, after using a basic attack or skill on them, he will unleash one instance of skill on targets. This additional skill does not consume any skill points and cannot trigger again, because it would be broken, he would skill forever. Also, if the target has been defeated before the additional skill is used, it will be cast on one random enemy instead. And for last, on his technique, Prism of the Pupil, Anaxa inflicts the Terrified stated on enemies in a set area. Terrified enemies will flee in the direction away from Anaxa for 10 seconds, and when allies attack the enemy, it will always be considered as entering the battle via attacking a weakness, and after entering the same battle, Anaxa will apply the attacker weakness into every enemy target, lasting for 3 turns. On his minor traces, Anaxa will get a total of 22.4 wind damage, 12% crit rate, and 10% HP, helping in his damage and survivability. On his first major trace, Roaming Signifier, when using a basic attack, additionally regenerates 10 energy, and at the start of the turn, if there are no enemy targets in the Qualitative Disclosure state, immediately regenerates 30 energy. On his second major trace, Imperative Hiatus, based on the number of erudition characters in the team, one of the following effects will be triggered in the current battle. If Anaxa is the only erudition character on the team, his crit damage will be increased by 140%, which is massive. And if there is at least one extra erudition character besides Anaxa on your team, he will increase the damage dealt by all allies by 50%, which is also incredible. And for his last major trace, Qualitative Shift, for every one different weakness type an enemy target has, the damage that Anaxa deals to that target ignores 4% of their defense, and up to a max of 7 weakness types can be taken into account for this effect. For his stress priorities, focus on your skill and ultimate first, then his talent, and for last his basic attack, which you don't need to level up, because you will always try to use his skill. Now let's talk about Anaxa Eidolons for those who want to invest on this professor. On Easy 1, after using skill for the first time, he will recover 1 skill point, and when using skill to hit enemy targets, decreases the target's defense by 16%, lasting for 2 turns. On Easy 2, when enemy targets enter the battlefield, triggers 1 instance of the talent's weakness implant effect, and reduces their all-type res by 20%. On Easy 3, the level of his ultimate is increased by 2, and the level of his basic attack is increased by 1. On Easy 4, when using skill, increases attack by 30%, lasting for 2 turns. This effect can stack up to 2 times. On Easy 5, the level of his skill and talent will be increased by 2, and for last, on Easy 6, the damage dealt by Anaxa is 130% of the original damage, and the 2 effects in the trace Imperative Hiatus will be triggered directly and will no longer depend on the number of erudition characters in the team. Now, let's talk about the best relic sets you could use on your Anaxa. His best in slot set will be in most of the cases Eagle of the Twilight line, which provides 10% wind damage on its 2-piece, and on its 4-piece, after you use your ultimate, your action will advance forward by 25%, which is massive to give Anaxa a lot of turns. But if you are looking for more damage in your Anaxa, you might want to use another set. Well, you have some other options. You can choose between Pioneer, Scholar or Genius. In the end, Genius will be the best option for Anaxa, even though it gives you 10% quantum damage on its 2-piece. Its 4-piece, it's where it's the bread and butter. Because when you deal damage to a target enemy, you will ignore 10% defense, and if the target enemy has a quantum weakness, you will ignore a total of 20% defense. And since Anaxa can inflict weaknesses, he will eventually reach this 20% defense. So, for these reasons, this set will be your best option if you want more damage. And for last, if you are still farming for your preferable set, go with a mix and match of 2 pieces between the sets that provide attack percent, damage percent, or crits. For planar ornaments, his best in slot will be Rootland Arena, because it will increase his crit rate by 8%, and when his crit rate reaches 70% or higher, the damage dealt by his basic and skill will increase by 20%. If you are pairing Anaxa with another erudition team, like for example Dierta, Izuma will be a great option, since it will increase your Anaxa's attack by 12%, and if there is at least one teammate that follows the same path, then his crit rate will also increase by 12%. And for last, if you are trying to reach some shenanigans with a lot of ultimates, you can also use Vonwak, which will increase his energy regeneration by 5%, and if his speed reaches 120% or higher, his action is advanced forward by 40% upon entering battle. Now let's talk about the best stats you need to be looking for on your Anaxa. For his chest, crits, but always with a focus on crit rate. For the boots, speed or attack percent. For the orb, attack percent or damage percent. And for the rope, attack percent or energy regen. For the substats, you should be looking for crits, speed and attack. His best in slot Lightcone will be his signature, Life Should Be Cast to Flames. Its passive will regenerate 10 energy when your turn starts, and if the target has a weakness implanted by the wearer, increases your Anaxa's damage dealt by 60%. Also, when an enemy target gets attacked by the wearer decreases the target's defense by 12%, lasting for 2 turns. The same types of effects cannot stack. His second best option will be the Dierta's signature Lightcone, Into the Regenerable Veil, because it will increase your crit rate by 12%, and when you use your ultimate, it will increase your skill damage and ultimate damage by 60%, lasting for 3 turns. Also, after you use your ultimate, if your ultimate consumes 140 or more energy, you will recover 1 skill point. Other 5-star options you can use if you have them laying around in your inventory with no one to use them are Himeko's Signature or Dierta Shop Lightcone Eternal Calculus, but keep in mind that these Lightcones are a bit of situational, and another options that I'm going to refer later will be better than them in most cases. His best F2P option will be the new Lightcone given for free on this anniversary event, the Great Cosmic Enterprise. This Lightcone, at S5, which I'm going to assume that everyone has, increases your attack by 16%, and for every one different weakness type an enemy target has, the damage dealt by you will increase by 8%, and up to a max of 7 weakness types can be taken into account for this effect. This Lightcone is tailor-made for Anaxa, and it's pretty much his best F2P option. But if you don't have this Lightcone for now, or you don't want to use it, other 4-star options that you can use are Genius's Repose, The Day the Cosmo Fell, or even the Battle Pass Lightcone, Today's Another Peaceful Day. But keep in mind that they all will perform worse than the F2P Lightcone I mentioned. Now let's discuss the best teams you can use with Anaxa. As we could see from his kit, he can be played as a hyper carry or as a sub DPS for another erudition character, mostly Dierta. Having this in consideration, let's take a look into these teams. For his hyper carry team, pair him with Sunday, Remembrance MC, Robin or Tribi, and Woho. For a Dierta team, pair him with Dierta, Tribi or Remembrance MC, and Linkshaw or Gallagher. And for an F2P team, pair him with Tingyun, Bronya or Pella, and Gallagher. Just keep in mind that you can use whoever you want and wish to. These are just some examples, and you are free to experiment and have fun with the characters that you want to use. But if you have some cool teams that I didn't mention here, feel free to leave them on the comments. So what's your opinion about Anaxa? Are you going to pull for him? I hope with this guide, you have a more understanding on how to build and play with him. My name is Phoenix. I make content for probably your favorite gacha games, so if you like my work, feel free to leave a like, a sub, and to follow me on my other socials. Thank you for my members for trying to support me even more. Have a great day, a great night, or a great afternoon. Good luck on your future pulls, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!